disable the laptop in device manager, or and then re-enable it, and then it picks it right back up, and I'm good. So I haven't been able to figure out a thing that causes it, and I've checked, and there isn't a more recent driver than this one for this wireless set. I'm good.
I have a similar
haven't been able to figure
issue
out a thing that causes it. And
with these.
There isn't a more
I've got two switches, two cheap
driver
switches,
than
and
this
occasionally they just forget how to talk to each other.
for this wireless set.
And so this room, I'm just waiting for the sound check. There we go. Issue. What happens is this room is connected to that room by direct connected by a
they just forget how to talk to each other.
gigabit Ethernet, and periodically these two switches the port that connects the two just goes away, and I lose everything. And it's happened on the show a couple of times, during the show. And more recently, it's been happening more often, like several times a week. It used to be once a month or so.
Right.
So the only thing I know to do is just replace both switches. They were like $20 gigabit switches, and I bought them 2 years ago. So maybe they've just given up. I don't know. But everything else works fine. It's just they can talk to the computers attached to them. They can talk to everything else. They just can't talk to each other. Weird.
Yeah, like my Amazon Prime or my Amazon Fire tablet will happen at my house, but my crappy 5-year-old cell phone, no problem. So
weird.
Yeah,
technology.
I don't know.
These
are both. Or go ahead.
I frequently say to people, the more I understand about this stuff, the more I'm amazed that it ever works.
Right.
It's not surprising when it doesn't work. It's surprising that it does work.
Yeah, the one commonality is both my home and here are Netgear routers. The latest firmware changed the password, so I don't think it's been hacked.
Yeah.
And this one's we've had it for like a month. But
all right, go ahead and start your local recording device. Let me power cycle. And now we can begin local recordings.
I have begun.
All right. Start that. Click that. And I assume some notification just went out. People just seem to know when I start the stream. So I'm assuming Google's handling that for me. I used to tweet it, put it on Facebook, and I was getting this is not an exaggeration, 0 engagement. Like over the course of a year, not once did anybody click on any of those links. So it's like, all right, I'm going to stop doing that. There's kind of no point anymore.
Well, if you want to, you can subscribe to that channel,
right,
and click the little notification icon. We just don't plug that, so maybe people have.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I don't know. Does that say this person is live now, or is it somebody's been playing with Darth Vader? He's in a different position than I usually keep him.
The videos, like when I'm searching on stuff, if it's one that I have subscribed to and I go to YouTube, they will be up top showing they're live now. Otherwise, just as you're looking through the videos, some of them will say live. So if it's somebody whom, I like I don't remember if I like the channel or follow it or whatever I did, but whenever they do a live show and I'm on, I think you can get an email like that, but I would have turned that off so long ago, I don't remember. But
all right, I guess we're ready to go. We'll go ahead and
I didn't have much for warm up because
right,
movies and stuff is
right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to make a marker and we're going to start doing a show, and we're 2 minutes early. How about that?
Woohoo!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GeekRant, episode 329. Let's see what happens. Recorded July 1st, 2018, and brought to you by Element Opie Productions, elementopie.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Drive Time Radio for Geeks. My name is Mark, sometimes known as the Sultan of the Soapbox Cockerel, and joining me this week is but he's enough, the beloved gooey kid, Seth Anderson. Hey, Seth, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing great, and welcome back to the Fine Opiites. Love to have you.
So Miles is not with us tonight because he is ill. I find in my own life that when I do lots of traveling like he's been doing, I always get sick when I come home, and that's seems to be what's happened to him. He's been out for a month in Mexico. Maybe he drank the water, and now he's come back to safe and sound in Phoenix and is sick. So Miles, get better. We'll soldier on without you.
Yeah, or maybe he just went somewhere else and didn't want a podcast. So he and his wife are just, enjoying an extended vacation.
Yeah, he wouldn't need to lie to us about that. He could just say, guys, I'm not doing this, and we'd be okay. So if you are watching live, you're not. But if you are, that red tinge you see on my skin is real. I spent some time yesterday helping a friend move, which always sucks. But it sucks even worse when it's 90 degrees and sunny and 87, I'm not exaggerating, percent humidity. Really, really unpleasant experience just to be outside. Then to be outside lifting heavy things, lifting other people's heavy things is even worse. But, it's what we do for friends. I find that I've never enjoyed that sort of thing. Even when I was young and fit and virile, I still never enjoyed moving other people's heavy things. But now that I'm 46 years old and well past my prime, I'm paying for it today and probably will be I'll be recovering for a week from that.
But that's, such is the, that is one of the benefits of owning a truck though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big, strong guy with a truck, which means I'm it always.
Yep.
That was it in college. In college, everybody moves like once a week or so. It seems to be the way it is. So we called the show Let's See What Happens because we don't have a plan. Miles was supposed to do the topics for July, and he did do the topics, but we didn't want to do his topic without him. So we're just kind of making this stuff up. This is gonna be one of our nominally, it'll be a pop culture thing. We're going to talk about movies and TV and things like that. But you never know. When Seth and I get together unsupervised, you never know where that conversation is going to go. So we'll just see where this happens. How this happens, I will be just as surprised as the rest of you. In fact, I forgot to set a timer, so this could go on forever. We'll just see what happens. But here we go. I wanted to mention, Seth, have I mentioned on the show, do you remember that I got a new laptop recently?
I think you mentioned it on the other show.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing. I don't think you've talked about it on this one.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. So I'm not in the business of giving hardware reviews, that sort of things. But I used to be one of those speeds and feeds guys. I would always build my own hardware and make sure I got everything maxed out and just the best it could be. As I've gotten older, my time has been more important to me than my money. I've got more money than I have time. And I just find that I'm not all that interested anymore, combined with the fact that you can't save money building your own stuff anymore. Now, it's something you can do if you want to enjoy it, but you can't save money, and particularly on a laptop. So I was looking for a laptop. The last one I bought was an HP Envy, fine machine. I just had it nearly 6 years, and it was just dying. I think I commented a while back that the 2 key on the keypad had gone out like a year and a half ago. And so through all the 200 episodes of the GeekRant, that was rough because every time I'd hit the 2, nothing would happen. I'll go hit that 2 over there. And so eventually the keyboard just stopped at all. It just wouldn't work at all. So it's plugged in downstairs now. I'll hook a keyboard up to it and do something with it. The machine's still fine. But anyway, to make a long story longer, I just decided I needed a laptop and I needed it now. I wasn't going to go find the best one. I was going to go find the best one available right now. So I went to Best Buy nearby, and I went to the little petting zoo, and I weeded out half of them just by cost alone. I don't believe in paying $1,000 for a laptop. If you have a $1,000 laptop, great. But I don't need a $1,000 laptop, and I don't want any of the convertible tablet things. That's just not for me. But I did get one where the keyboard flap can turn around and it can be tablet-esque. It works with the Microsoft S Pen, I think they call it. But anyway, but I didn't want one of those that it's like a Surface where the keyboard is an afterthought. For me, a keyboard is a very important thing. So once I picked out like the 5 or 6 that I wanted, I just started typing on them, and found the one that was the most comfortable, and went back and forth. And I've been a big fan of Asus for years. Turns out the top 2 that I was looking at were both Asus, and the one I ended up going with was the Asus Q505. It's not the newest model. There's several of them around. I forget which one I got, but if you go to Best Buy and look at the Asus laptops, you'll Best Buy website, you'll find it. But it's an all aluminum housing, which I liked. It's durable. The keyboard is nice, and I brought it home, and I was underwhelmed with it. It's okay. Yeah, here it is, the Asus Q505 UA. That doesn't seem right. Mine's a 15-inch, so it must have been a different number than that. But anyway, I got an open box special, so I picked it up dirt cheap. It was less than $600 for a machine with an i5 processor and 12 gigs of RAM and a terabyte hard drive. And I thought with those specs, it should be better than it is. And I remembered that everything I have in my podcast studio, my old laptop, everything I have is SSDs, and this was a terabyte 5400 RPM drive. 5400 is slow, so I just really, it was just an unpleasant experience all the way around, and I was almost to the point of returning the device, but I decided not to, and went and bought a SSD, plugged that in, completely changed the experience on the machine. Now it is a great machine. So if you're interested in a new laptop, I can recommend, I've had it for a couple of weeks now, can highly recommend the Asus Q505 UA at Best Buy for sub $1,000, and put in a $100 SSD, and it'll be a great machine. So that's all I have to say about that.
I wonder if the reason they leave them 5400 is so that people who want it will go out and purchase an SSD, have a secondary purchase. Whereas if you had a 72, it would be a lot faster, and probably fewer people would go out and buy an SSD to swap the hard drive.
I'm not as prone to conspiracy theories as you are. But there could definitely be some cross-industry collaboration there. I really just think it's cheap, and the 7200s are a much bigger battery drain than the 5400s, and so when people are looking for battery life, of course the SSD is a much less battery drain even, and so I don't even know what the battery life. I don't know. I've gone all day with it. I don't. It's some number of hours, but so far it's been more battery than I've needed at any point using it. So that's awesome.
Cool.
So anyway, there's that. This week is the 4th of July, and as you know, I don't like to say the 4th of July any more than I like to say the 2nd of February or the 25th of December. These holidays have names, and they're not just the dates, except Cinco de Mayo, which apparently the name is the date. It is Independence Day, the day in which the United States declared its independence from the mother country. Let's not forget, this was not an act of patriotism. This was an act of treason. And we celebrated, of course, by usually drinking and shooting off fireworks. So if you're going to shoot off fireworks, please don't drink. If you're going to drink, please don't shoot off fireworks. Have a designated fuse lighter like you have a designated driver. But enjoy your festivities.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Mark. YouTube would be so boring if people acted in a responsible manner. Do you really want to force that on the world?
Yeah. There's just so many things to say. Y'all watch this. Hold my beer. I don't, But anyway, I think it is it's obviously a wonderful celebration of independence, although the independence actually came much later than that. July 4th was just the day we declared that independence. But I think we just generally celebrate everything we do. We celebrate it in the wrong way. St. Patrick's Day, the day we celebrate the man responsible for bringing Christianity to Ireland by drinking green beer. We just have weird, St. Valentine's Day, we celebrate the man who literally gave his life to marry people under the covenant of his church by giving candy and flowers and drawing pictures of cherubs with with arrows. It's just everything we do is just wrong. It's the wrong way to celebrate it. And Independence Day is no different. It's no longer Independence Day. It's simply the 4th of July, and it has no meaning other than that's the day we get to shoot fireworks.
I wonder if you were to, because I would fail this, what day did the Revolutionary War actually end? I've looked it up, but I can't remember it. I keep forgetting, because I was thinking about that one day, and I was just like, okay, we celebrate the 4th of July. The battle was already going, but that's just the day we wrote the Declaration of Independence. And then it was, and I've had to look it up because I know it was a long time, but how long between when we wrote the Declaration of Independence and there was a formal ending of the war? So
but I'm not Wikipediaing. I think 1783. I think it was that long between the time we declared the independence and the time we actually became an independent nation.
Yeah, I don't know why, but 86 is a number that sticks in my head. But again, I've looked it up because I was like, especially when I was younger, I was a super history buff. Random trivial historical facts was like my wheelhouse, and I know I knew it in the past, but it's not something that I've been able to commit to long-term memory.
Here it is. Google to the rescue. September 3rd, 1783.
September 3rd.
So
that's a long time.
Yeah, my mom's birthday.
Oh.
Not that anybody cares except my mom. Hi, Mom. She doesn't know what a podcast is. She'll never hear that. All right, so moving right along, Seth, you and I both got to see the second installment of Incredibles. I find it interesting that you saw it because it's such a family movie, and you are not a family man. A spoiler-free review, of course, although this movie would be very difficult to spoil, to be honest with you. Everything about it is pretty laid out in the open, and there's no mysteries, really. There's no surprise endings. There are no serious plot twists. You just enjoy the journey, so it would be difficult to spoil. But give us your review of it.
Okay, well, when I go see movies like this, here's the way I operate. Okay, what movies at this theater do I want to see? Okay, and then which one starts next? And so that was how I got to see a private screening of The Incredibles 2, because there was literally no one else in that particular movie theater. So, because it was an afternoon show, but it has a standalone movie. It was good. Has a lot of issues that the serious, that you could take apart, and I'm sure nerds all over the internet already have. But I enjoyed it. It's not really. I don't really. This is a very minor spoiler. The first movie was a lot about Mr. Incredible, so this movie is more about Elastigirl, and it's more a movie about a family who has superpowers. So rather than it's, like the Marvel movies, they're hero movies, and some of them deal with some relationships. This is about a family who also has superpowers. So that's, kind of differentiates Incredibles from other movies out there. But it was enjoyable. A lot of the powers were done right. And of course it's Pixar, so the actual animation was very good. I liked it, but at the same time, there were things about it that were very noticeable to me, and I don't want to really go into them because you would really spoil the movie. But it was a very enjoyable movie, and especially if you have kids, take them to see it.
So the first Incredibles movies, it was a subtext of it, but really the entire movie was about a group of people who don't believe the rules apply to them. And it spoke to, the people in our society, the everybody gets a trophy people who think that the rules don't apply to them, and they gave good reasons why, but really the entire movie was about living in a world where you think the rules don't apply to you. This one is much more about changing the rules than about subverting them. And yeah, it's much more a family movie, not in that the family appeal, but the story revolves around the family more than one single character of it. I didn't like it as much as the first one. It's not as original. How can it be? It's a sequel. Sequels are never as original as the first. Yeah, I enjoyed it on a scale of 1 to 10. I give it an 8, 8.5. You know, it's a good, solid movie. It's just not awesome. Whereas the first one, I would give a 9, 9.5. I think it was, so groundbreaking, so original. It gets an extra point and a half just for that. But yeah, worth seeing. If you enjoyed the first one at all, you'll like the second one.
Right.
And I don't know how they managed to match up voices of people 14 years later. I mean, even if the voices of the kids weren't done by kids, which is, common in movies right now, just matching people to themselves. Like Mr. Incredible sounded older. You know how men just kind of lose the power in their voice as they get older, and Craig T. Nelson is getting older, and he sounded 14 years older, but really he's the only one that did. The others really, we had watched the first one just the day before, and it just really wasn't all that noticeable. So props to them for that.
Cool.
Jurassic World, I actually have no desire to see this movie. I mean, I'll see it on Netflix, but I have no desire to spend $13 to see it on a big screen. Tell me I'm good with that.
You're very good with that, Mark.
Okay.
Again, my wheelhouse. This was a movie that started an hour before the others, so I didn't feel like hanging around for an hour. So there were lots of just the spectacle of it, was good. Like, the animation of the dinosaurs looks really good on the big screen. So the only reason that I would argue for going to see it in the theater is, I think the dinosaurs hold up to seeing them on the big screen and going, wow, that looks really good. The story flows very well, very logically from the first one. I didn't like how at the end of The Day After Tomorrow, I think it was the world freezing movie.
Right. Terrible movie.
Well, the ending speech by the vice president it made a terrible movie even worse. There's an ending speech by Jeff Goldblum that really, the movie would have been better without his ending speech. He was in the beginning, and his appearance in the beginning in the Senate was actually, I was like, wow, I can't believe, it was actually pretty good. But then at the ending, I was just like, we really didn't need to hear you say that. But this is set up for a movie franchise. The ending of this movie resolves nothing except for the fact that expect many more movies, and they could easily get 3 or 4 movies out of the end of this one telling concurrent stories. So the science is falling apart. The logical inconsistencies would drown anything smaller than a dinosaur would be crushed by the logical inconsistencies and pseudoscience of the film. But other than that, it was just like, when it comes out, watch it. Of course, if you've got a 60 or 70 inch TV screen, don't even go to the movie theater. But I don't know. It wasn't a great movie, but it was visually very good. It was, in a lot of ways, it was almost like you were watching the third Jurassic Park again, but changed a little bit. So I'm sorry if that, surely that's
spoiler,
considered a spoiler. So there's so many things about it that they ruin their own logic that they set up, and it just, I say, I don't know.
Internal consistency. I've had this rant many times before. Science fiction, write whatever rules you want. Not just science, any fiction. Write whatever rules you want, but stick with the rules.
Right.
I like Bryce Dallas Howard, the female love interest in this, but I felt she was really wasted in the first one. I don't know if she's going to be wasted in the second one. I like Chris Pratt, but when 80% of the scenes are just him staring frighteningly into a green screen, it's just, he was wasted in the first one. I went to see that when it came out on DVD. I picked it up in the bargain bin. I have it, and I have had it for a while now, a couple of years. My wife has no interest in seeing it. My kids haven't seen it. I haven't rewatched it. There was zero rewatchability. I don't know why I bought it, honestly. I have a sickness. I have a problem with movie collection, and I'll probably buy this one. And the first time I watch it will be downstairs on my projector screen. But I'm not expecting much out of it. It's kind of like there's going to be a 6th Terminator movie. I haven't heard about that. I just know there is because they're still making money off of it, and I will have to go see it. I will have to, or at least buy it. And so this one, I'll have to buy Jurassic World, but I don't actually look forward to it. It's like it's going to be a chore. All right, I have to watch this movie. But anyway,
yeah, like I say, I had a lot of high hopes for. High hopes is wrong, but it's just like people don't care anymore. They're just like, oh, it's Jurassic World. Let me throw money at it, and who cares what it's about? And so they just like. I don't know. It just seems like people are getting dumber and dumber by the movies that come out. So, I tell you what, the second time I saw Idiocracy, I saw the beginning. The first time I saw it, I missed that first little intro, you know, where it's like the couples being interviewed. And the second time I saw it, I saw that part, and I was like, that is maybe the most realistic thing.
And we've just lost Seth. So we'll pause for a minute. He'll be back. We may never know what he said. That's the most realistic thing. Oh, wait, he moved. Is he back? Are we there? Are we there yet? Almost. Can you hear me? Can you speak to me? I'm not hearing you. Nope, there we go. Skype. All right.
Okay, I'm back.
All right, let me restart and now continue. That's the most realistic thing.
Oh, I just said that's the most real. That might be the most realistic thing I have ever seen portrayed in a fictional movie.
Yeah, I can't remember what you're talking about off the top of my head, but
it's like the upper middle class yuppie people trying to have.
Oh yes,
and then the lower white trash.
Right.
Him getting everybody pregnant, and I was just like, frighteningly realistic.
Yes. Oh, and of course the Hangout just died, but that's all right. I don't know if that killed.
I'm still up on Skype.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if that killed the broadcast or not.
Yeah.
We'll see. Jinda, let me know. Did that kill the broadcast? It's going to be a weird night, technically, because it said, hey, you're the only one here. We're stopping this. Anyway, okay. Back to where we are. So a movie that I can't talk about yet, and honestly, I don't want to, but my 13-year-old is just excited beyond words to see the new Ant-Man and the Wasp. And she keeps saying, we got to go see that. I don't want to see it. I didn't like the first one. I know that the second one isn't going to be as good as the first one, and the first one wasn't very good. And it's going to be the entire movie premise is built around breaking your own rules, violating your own internal logic. I don't want to go see it, but I love my daughter, and if I can get her to voluntarily spend a couple of hours with me, I'll do it. So I'll let you know maybe next week, because we'll probably go see it next weekend or the week after at the latest. What I think about, I can tell you now what I think about the movie. It's a terrible movie, that it's just a money grab, and really shouldn't have happened. The least consequential people in the entire Marvel universe, and I'm including Luke Cage and Daredevil in that. They're just completely irrelevant, so much so that there was like one sentence dedicated to them in Infinity War. But I love my daughter, so I'm going to go see what I know is going to be a terrible movie.
Well, in the original Avengers, they were much more, in the comics, they were very central to the Avengers. So, but I loved Ant-Man, just the cheese fest nature of it was right up my alley. So I am also looking forward to seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp. And and if I lived in the Georgia area, I would relieve you of that responsibility. But because I am looking forward to watching this movie, and I know it will be cheesy, and that is why I will love it.
Yeah. I don't mind things that are like intentionally cheesy or wink and a nod cheesy, but this one they played it straight and it just came off cheesy, and that I don't like it.
Okay.
So this, I'm interested to hear you talk about Electric Dream. So that's Philip K. Dick's, the book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" I'm assuming those two are related.
Yes, it's Philip K. Dick's. He did a Netflix series, so it's a 10-episode season. I'm sorry, not on Netflix, on Amazon Prime. And it's, think Twilight Zone. So all of this, it's like 10 one-hour standalone science fiction shows. And I thought they were very enjoyable. There was a couple of them I was like, but overall, I was just like, wow, that was really good. Visually was very, very well done. Story-wise, some of them were better than others, but, basically think Twilight Zone. So, has in the sense that a concept you hadn't thought of before you've seen for an hour. They devoted it, I think 50 minutes to it, but I really enjoyed the shows. I thought they were top notch, and famous actors in them, like Bryan Cranston is in one, and other people who I can't remember their names, but you'll see them and you go, oh, I know that person. Oh, I know that person. So lots of famous people in them.
Yeah, just to correct you, Philip K. Dick didn't have anything to do with this. He died in 1982.
It has his name on it.
It's based on the stories in his universe. The Blade Runner, the Scanner, Darkly, Minority Report was his. So he's got lots of good stuff that people are drawing from to create the Electric Dreams. I'll check it out. I never even think to look at Amazon. When I'm looking for, I've got an hour to kill, what do I want to have on in the background? Amazon never even crosses my mind. I immediately go to Netflix. Netflix has won the battle of the mind share in that one.
Right. Yeah, and by and large, if you were like average quality of new stuff, Netflix is higher, but to me this one was really good. So, which is probably means it didn't turn out too well, because if I like something like that, that's bad news.
That's the
for
end
people.
of it. Yeah.
But no, it was like I say, you may or may not like the premises, but they're very well done. The acting in them I thought was pretty cool as well, and so good show.
All right, so you wanted to address a theme of the things that we've talked about here. You have seen a pattern developing.
Yeah, okay, I was flipping through the channels, and one of the shows on Disney, before Disney had their channel, they had the little block after school thing. And I remember DuckTales. Did you watch DuckTales?
I did.
I thought it was a fabulous show. So anyway, they've relaunched DuckTales, but I started watching it and I was like, dude, it was just it was dark, and instead of funny, it was just sarcastic and biting. And I'm just like, man, do people not know how to write anymore? I think reruns of the original series would be better than what it is now, because the characters are dumber and more shallow, and the themes are darker. And, of course, you don't have heroes now. You have anti-heroes and flawed heroes who are part bad and bad guys who are part good. And, I long for the days when, good guys wore white hats and black guys, or bad guys wore black hats, and, you could tell the difference. And so to me, the stuff that's coming out now usually isn't as good.
Yeah, well, some of that is just we're getting older and the world isn't written to us anymore. But I remember a couple of years ago when Pan, the movie, came out with Hugh Jackman. And I remember tweeting at the time, what the world really needs is a darker, grittier version of Peter Pan. And that movie came and went, and Seth is scowling because he doesn't even remember it. Yeah, there's no reason you would. It was a multi-billion-dollar big-budget movie that came and went, because turns out the world doesn't care about a darker, grittier version of Peter Pan. But everything is trying to go that way. I agree with you that it just seems to be everything has to be more nuanced and more, the good guy has to be tarnished and the bad guy has to be have some internal struggle. There is, I'm refreshed when I see these things like High School Musical, where there is just no subtlety, no nuance. Every character is exactly one-dimensional. And as much as an adult, I don't enjoy watching that. I appreciate that those things still exist for our children because they need to understand those concepts early on. And the adult writers who are writing quote-unquote kids programming don't want to give them that. They want everything is subtle, everything is shades of gray. And when you're 7, you can't understand that, and B, you don't need it. It's detrimental to your development to see that kind of thing. You need to understand the world in terms of cops and robbers. So I agree with your point, but I think some part of it is just we're getting older, and some part of it is as we quote unquote get more sophisticated. We feel like our society is more sophisticated. I don't know that it really is. But if you go back and watch like old MacGyver episodes, that was television for adults by adults, and there was no nuance in that. The bad guys were bad and the good guys were good, and we all enjoyed it. And is it a good thing or a bad thing that I now can't watch MacGyver or Dukes of Hazzard or these things that were primetime award-winning stuff? I can't enjoy that because I have been educated, or whatever the word you want to use is. I now expect more subtlety. Is that an improvement in society? I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Okay, Mark, I have a question for you. This is this is totally changing the topic. Okay, if you were to watch a show like, say Pretty Woman came on and you watched it with your wife. When I saw, I caught a little bit of the movie as I was flipping through channels. When I watched that show, like Julia Roberts is like 10 years older than I am, and Richard Gere is like twice my age. When I watch it, I'm the age I was when I first saw it. Like whenever I see Star Trek, like the original Star Trek series, I see people like Kirk and Chekhov and Scotty as older than I am,
right,
even though now I'm older than they were then. So when you go back and see a show that you saw when you were younger, do you kind of still fall into that mindset, or do you like, oh my gosh, those are kids now?
It's a little of both. I have a very momentary rekindling of my youth, but it's quickly surpassed by, Ralph Macchio is now older than Pat Morita was when he did that role. Yeah,
right.
I have that kind of reaction.
Okay, I don't like, it's like I look at that and I know that person's older than I am now, but it's like when I'm watching it, I'm that age again. So I guess maybe I just do a better job of, what is that term? I don't know. I just do a better job of losing myself in the story.
Suspension of disbelief, is that the word?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
So.
And because I partly the fact that I enjoy the art of storytelling, and when I watch a movie, I'm not just watching for the story. I'm looking at the cinematography and analyzing the dialogue and the sound. I lose a lot of that kind of enjoyment because I'm looking at the mechanics of it. Several years ago, I took my family to Disney, and sitting there with my then 4-year-old, watching her watch Belle in the Beauty and the Beast castle area there. To her, that was a real princess. It was a real person. And watching Lumiere move, it was an animatronic thing. And in my mind, that is fascinating. How do they do that? And I'm spending all my time mentally dissecting the mechanism, trying to understand how it works. And then I look down at my daughter, who is just enraptured, and to her, it's magic. And I needed to borrow her wonder, because I don't have any wonder left anymore. My wonder has now turned to analytical thinking, and I think we could all use a little more wonder in our lives. So, sometimes you want to look at something and just say, oh, that's magic, and just be okay with that.
Yeah, I guess I do a better job of giving them the wonder. And for me to notice how bad a movie is, that tells you that they have failed, if they can't capture my wonder, and I'm like, oh, I can tell they flubbed the dialogue there. Oh, I wish they could have had better props for that scene. Then I know at that point, wow, this movie's pathetic.
Right.
If I can't, because when I go to watch a movie or watch TV, I offer my wonder to the screen, and it's like, okay, I want to be a part of your world for the next hour and 47 minutes, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you couldn't keep me entertained. And that's a pretty low bar.
Yeah.
So
to go back to Incredibles 2, my everybody but the 9-year-old knew the plot twist pretty early on, because
right.
it's that kind of thing. It's written for a childlike mind. And as an adult, you look at it and it's kind of cute. It's like, oh, how cute. It's sad though, that innocence lost. Can't be regained. I've always been very protective of my kids' innocence because the world will rob them of that soon enough. However,
right.
Whenever it happens, it will be too soon. And so I try to protect that innocence, protect that wonder. And I've been accused by other parents of coddling my children, protecting them too much. Fine, you raise your children the way you want to raise them, but whatever, my precious baby daughter's soul is going to be crushed one way or the other. It's going to happen. Life will do that to her. I'm going to do everything I can to delay that as long as possible. And to simple things like movies, at some point you can no longer enjoy an Indiana Jones. You can't enjoy that story because it's a throwback to an older time where the hero's hat never fell off. And,
right.
We, as society, quote, evolves, we lose something. Evolution is a story of growth and change, but it's also a story of losing that which you left behind. And as our society evolves, and I don't even know if that's an accurate description, we're definitely moving forward, but I don't know if we're getting better. And to your point, things are much darker and grittier and more violent than they used to be. We're still not as far as we had fallen. If history is also the future roadmap, we've got a few hundred years before we will be dismembering Christians in the Colosseum. But
right.
There's no reason to think we won't get to that eventually. And so something is going to happen, and society will devolve or maybe evolve. Depending on how you look at it, and we'll get our lack of grit back. We'll get our wonder back.
Yeah, no, yeah, because like if I see an old movie from like the 40s or 50s, some of them hold up really well today, and then others of them I'm just like, oh my gosh, that was like. Oh, it's like I'm expecting a plot twist here, and I'm like, oh wait, this is before there were plot twists in movies, and I'm like, oh, this guy's
exactly.
And so it's got, and so you watch some of them, and they're just like, oh my, how could people watch this? And the fake punches that missing people by 2 or 3 feet, and at the time, everybody. It was so, the art form was so new that they were like, oh, wow, that's the best fight I've ever seen. And like my dad, he has this, he watches these old movies from when he was a kid, and, and he falls back in that wonder, I guess. And then I watch those movies and I go, yeah, okay, I'm glad you enjoyed that, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's nothing he's recapturing, but for you, there's nothing to recapture. And you
right.
watch these, talking about the 40s, right? There is thinly veiled, if they bother to veil it at all, overt racism throughout these movies, and
right.
overt sexism and classism all over the place. But at the same time, it's so much simpler. Everybody knew their place. Everybody was okay with their place. And obviously they weren't okay with it because society has moved on from that. But in the frame of the story, the man has his role, the woman has his role, the white guy has his role, the black guy has his role. And again, within the context of the story, everybody's happy with it. And it all makes sense. And something in me longs for that. Everybody has their place and everybody's okay with it, even if it was always a fiction.
Right. No, me too. I'm right there with you. But yeah, so I don't know. And so the people who are jumping into the movies today, they go back and see the shows like, man, the stop bullet things in the Matrix, how unbelievable that was. And now everybody's going, what's the big deal? And we're like, you don't understand. That's the coolest thing ever. And they're like, no, that's pretty, I can do that on my iPhone now.
Right, exactly.
So,
I was listening to Carry On My Wayward Son the other day, that song by Kansas, right?
Kansas, yeah.
Yeah. And, I was rocking out to it because it's an awesome song. And my oldest asked me, what's so great about that song? And I, said, well, the tight vocal harmonies are really amazing, and those harmonized guitar riffs are the solos that aren't solos, but it's just so amazingly well crafted. And she made some comment like, yeah, but I hear that all the time now. And I thought, well, yeah, you do hear that all the time because these guys did it first. And everything you heard, everything that your world is built on started right here. So I remember when it started. I remember when, artistry came to rock and roll. At first, it was not artistry. It was loose. It was very bluesy. It was very unstructured, and then rigid structure came to rock and roll. And now, and it went away again in the grunge era. But it's like, my wife is a big Beatles fan. I never have been. And we were listening to some Beatles, and it was the same conversation. It's like, why is this a big deal, Mom? Because they did it first. And so the Matrix, the Bullet Time, those firsts are now 2 generations old.
Golly, man, that's just, I know that's, but man, when people say it like that, you're like, I remember, I remember dial-up, and that's how come I'm not. So
yeah. And so what are the firsts we're seeing today? Can you recognize a first when you first see it? I'm not really sure. I mean, dubstep is a new thing. Is it going to be the foundation in 40 years? Is that dubstep music going to be the foundation of something new? I don't know that you can ever know that in your time, but we're definitely seeing things that have never existed. I guess the real challenge is to recognize it when you see it. But can we ever do that, or do we always have to look behind to see it?
And here's a question for you. Is it now, it almost seems like, and maybe this is the younger me living through it versus the cynical me now just projecting, but it was like we were trying to do stuff better versus it seems today people just want to do something different. Who cares if it's better, if it's worse? It's like, oh, you did it that way. We can't do that. We have to do it this way because we're different. And so it produces a lot of garbage because it's like there's a reason it wasn't done that way before because that's pathetic. So, but you want to be different, so go ahead. Is that just me being cynical, or is that just something that is that my cognitive bias? Let me use a term that doesn't fit.
It sounds like a whole lot of old man cynicism, to be honest with you.
Probably is.
But, there is also truth in that. But I think there was always a time where different, is different. I mean, a lot of that classic stuff out of the 60s, that rock music, was not good. It was different.
Right.
And so you had to be different first before you could be good at being different.
Okay, I can buy that one.
All right, and now, Seth, I have one further question for you before we end the night. What happened this week in history?
All right. Well, I didn't want to do this on the 10-year anniversary, but I thought, this was kind of a big deal. In June the 29th, 2007, Apple Incorporated released the iPhone. Little device, you might have heard of it sometime through the annals of time. So anyway, Mark, that happened this week in history, and now back to you.
Annals of time, not annals of time, annals. But it is amazing when you watch an old TV show or an old movie. But old could be as late as 2009 because not everybody had a smartphone, right? That was when it first started, and only a few people had it. By 2011, everybody had a smartphone. But you see these things where the highest tech guy there is using a flip phone or a candy bar phone. Or one of those things where the keyboard would flip out in a T formation. Those were in the first Iron Man. He uses one of those, and that was a real phone of the day, and it was the highest tech thing possible. But yeah, now there's no better way to date a movie than by showing a phone in it.
Right.
But now it's just a black slab of glass. In fact, I was watching something, I don't remember what it was, but there was a conversation that took place, and the guy's holding the black slab of glass to his ear, and then he puts it down and pushes a button or taps the screen. And I noticed, because I noticed these sort of things, that the screen wasn't lit up. It's like, well, if the screen wasn't lit up, there was no button for you to tap, so you obviously weren't on a phone call. Continuity department, you lost that one. But nobody thought about that in the time frame this was. It's like we was given him a black slab of glass, and it's realistic. Anyway, that was just nowhere. I really thought I was going to land that somewhere, but I just didn't. The plane just refused to come down for a landing.
It went on so long, it just ran out of fuel and crashed.
Just couldn't do it.
So,
all right.
sorry.
So now, Seth, what do you have to lower my productivity, thus making you seem like a better hiring option?
All right. Well, this one won't really do that, Mark, but this is sevenly.org. For those people who feel bad for spending money, this is a way you can share your story and change the world. Expression apparel for your cause. So you can go here to this website and you can shop by cause. So if you feel like buying something and you want to support, pick something here, military plus public service. You click on that, and so you can buy stuff for that, whatever you want. Just like I say, if you feel guilty for spending money, but you still want to spend money, this way you can select some cause and give money to them by purchasing stuff. So.
Each purchase provides support for the Gary Sinise Foundation. Slacktivism at its finest, right there. You can feel good for buying stuff.
Well, this is a little bit more than slacktivism, because you're spending more on that T-shirt than if you go down to Walmart and support the evil corporation. This way, you're supporting the charities and foundations that will at least give a portion of that proceeds to whatever cause. And so, such things as keeping faith, refugee care, autism. If you care about the environment or education or women's achievement, or there's a lot of other things in there as well. So you can just go there and click to buy.
The Environment Collection, planting a new grove of trees with every purchase through the Arbor Day Foundation. I'm holding back a get off my lawn. I mean, it's every model of every picture of every apparel here is an obvious millennial with giant, huge beards or it's not my world. When I look at this website, I realize that I am the past, and it is no longer my world.
Well, really, the millennials are the people that this website was made for.
Exactly.
So, and they don't want to give their money to Walmart, who is going to distribute that to not the stockholders, but the C-level executives through stock buybacks and stuff. Instead, they're going to give it to foundations that will, give pennies of every dollar to the charity of their choice. So, and it's a win-win for consumers and marketing, right?
5 presidents from now, the president will have tattoos over 80% of his upper body, and will be sporting a man bun, because these are the people that are going to be president in 5 presidents from now.
Are you sure you won't be a porno actor? Idiocracy is looking every day. Idiocracy is looking more and more like it was like somebody developed a time machine, went to the future, and just recorded stuff and brought it back. So
far, the baiting network doesn't exist. So as long as that's not a thing yet, we're okay.
Yeah, and as long as electrolytes isn't an everyday term in our vocabulary,
it's what plants crave. It's not my world anymore. I need to, there's a book, I can't remember the name of the book, but the premise of it is that every man goes through 3 stages. There's the warrior, the king, and the sage. The warrior is out there fighting his battles, wooing his women, conquering his kingdom. And in the king, he's ruling over his kingdom. He's maintaining, he's expanding. And then in the sage, he's the advisor to the new king. and he's just sitting back and keeping the ship. I have moved. I've been through my warrior phase. I've been through my king phase, and I'm now moving into my sage phase. And the new kings are taking over, and they're not my world. And I'm not sure I'm going to know what to tell them. As a sage, I don't know that I have any advice for this new generation of people.
Scary thing. So, but you know, Mark, if you feel bad about that, you can always go to sevenly.org and buy a t-shirt and send money to some cause that you care about.
Nice call back there.
Yeah. Or here is the thing. If somebody hits you, hey, you're an anti whatever, you can say, I went to Seven Lee and I bought this shirt, and see, I'm wearing the shirt to prove it. How dare you say I'm an anti whatever the current event is?
I am officially a better human than you because I spent too much on a t-shirt.
Yeah. On a cause I didn't even believe in. That's how much I support them. So, see, I mean, this is like, you could get double or triple points for this.
All right, well, this is the part of the show where I tell you how you can feed back to us. You could be like Jinda in the chat room right now, reminding us that Brondo is what plants crave. And you could do that by going to elementop.com/live long about 7:30-ish p.m. on a Sunday night. Or you can go to elementop.com and click the Contact Us button up at the top of the page. Answer the world's hardest CAPTCHA. Fill out the form there and let us know what you think. Or you can send an email to to GeekRant at elementop.com. EDL still works too. And let us know what you think. We will be having a listener feedback show in the next few weeks. I'm not exactly sure when, but I've been stockpiling listener feedback. So now's the time to get it in. Ask your questions, make your comments, let us know what you think. Again, GeekRant at elementop.com. Or you can dial 559-IM-OP and leave us a voicemail. We do appreciate you being here, even on these shows where we don't really have an agenda and we're not sure what we're talking about, and it's just Seth and I riffing. We appreciate the fact that you're out there listening, because otherwise we would just be even weirder than we really are. So thanks for that, Seth. Any final words of wisdom before we say goodnight?
Nope, not really.
All right. They don't call him the best color man in the business for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. And remember, pay for what you like. That's it for this episode of the Geek Rant.
Toodaloo.
It's now 82 degrees in my little room over the garage.
Bummer.
All right, Jinda, thanks for hanging out with us, brother. I gotta get my hand in the frame. Bye now.